Mm. How do you feel about that? Because it look. I mean, I guess you give a great example there. It's almost like it's not just the talent anymore. It's not just like the hard work when it comes to preparing yourself. It's like there's this other kind of like almost like vanity aspect of it with the social media, with the getting the attention that has very little to do with boxing almost.
Yeah. No, I mean, not to knock, Adrian Broner is a very good fighter, but an example I can give you is he gets paid more money to lose fight than some guys get paid to win. But it's because he's so well known, whether he's got people's attention from doing positive things or negative things, he's so well known that that's that's his paydays. So it's it sucks for the people who actually like are legit fighters, because there's people out there who are not legit fighters. They talk like they are, they make it look like they are, and they get paid more than the people who are putting blood, sweat, and tears into this sport. Look at
Gotcha.
the Paul brothers, Logan Paul and Jake Paul. Logan's about to fight Floyd. Jake just fought Nate Robinson, and they got more money in one fight than some fighters made in their whole careers.
Right. So I guess it almost kind of boils down to why you're boxing in the first place. Is it like a money thing, or is it like to test yourself and your abilities as well?
I think it's both. I think for some people it's their outlet. Boxing for a lot of people starts off as a way to survive. It starts off as a way, whether you're a kid trying to stay out of trouble, whether you were a kid that might have been bullied and wanted to learn to defend yourself. Um, it starts off as a sport you love, but in order to really stick with it and stay with it, man, it eventually becomes about the money, because it's like, wow, I can really fend for my family fighting, doing
Right.
what I'm good at. I fight one time a year and I set my family up. For some guys, not always, but some guys, they fight one time a year and they're setting their families up for life. Um, so you still have those guys who are out there chasing legacy, who want their names in the record books, and then you got your guys who are like, yeah, I could care less. I just want the paper.
Now,
You know.
speaking of legacy, um, Mike Tyson, I didn't get to see the fight, but I did see him go on the Joe Rogan podcast in the show, and I heard him talking about getting ready for this match and potentially having some type of like old school like company like legacy where you get like all these guys that were huge like 10 years ago, and you kind of see how they're doing now, and almost like these guys never lost that. I mean, they became too old for the current sport, but they still have that like fire to want to fight again.
Oh, once a boxer, always a boxer. I'm talking about when you've done it seriously, and
Hmm.
whether you only fought at an amateur level or whether it doesn't die. I mean, I see old heads that they never even turned pro. They fought amateur, and like they'll be shadow boxing when they're walking and stuff. But even me, like, I still get an itch to be like, I gotta fight at least once. I gotta turn pro at least one time. That fire doesn't that fire just doesn't die. It's almost like I don't know. I just saw recently, and I just couldn't believe how in phenomenal shape he looked. I saw a Terrell Owens interview. Football. I mean,
Okay, yeah.
the guy for his age too, he looked like he was in phenomenal shape, and I could tell like if if he would definitely play in the NFL again. Like he probably stays in shape with it in his mind that another team will pick him up. He probably has hope
Yeah.
somewhere deep down that somebody's gonna give him the chance.
To be able to get in again. Yeah, I
Look
mean,
at Tom
just
Brady. What does Tom Brady have to prove? Tom Brady has nothing to prove at all. The guy's 43 years old and still trying to play with these young 20-something-year-old kids that are trying to kill him every play.
yeah, I'd be curious to know what his well, I guess is always like almost you almost got to prove yourself at that point, right? It's like, people are telling him that he's too old, but he's like, nah, I still got it. I'm gonna prove you wrong year after year.
Yeah. I think when it comes to sports, it's many different things. It's one, you always want to try to cement yourself in the Hall of Fame or the record books, whatever it is. I think it's always when you have dedicated yourself to play at an elite level, you had to have dedicated yourself at some point in time to this for years.
Right.
For years, it had to have been eat, breathe, sleep that specific sport for years. So when it's no longer there, I feel like people lose a part of themselves. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore. You know, I remember in an interview. It wasn't even an interview. It was a clip. It was after Miguel Cotto had fought. His wife was crying and said, you know, this hurts me. I don't want to see this anymore. And he kissed his wife and said, it's all I know. What else am I going to do? It's all I know. He's bloodied. He's bruised up. His wife is crying next to him, says, this hurts me. I don't want to see this anymore. And he shrugs and kisses her and says, this is all I know.
Man,
So for a lot of people, it's you lose a part of yourself when you're not doing what you love anymore. What you've been doing, like I said, you've been eating, breathing, sleeping this for multiple years, that these guys wake up and unless they picked up like a commentating position or whatever, they don't know what to do with themselves.
yeah, I keep thinking of like Mike Tyson in the interview. It's like this guy has nothing to prove really, you know, he's loaded. So it's just like he just wants to see if he still has it.
Plus Mike Tyson is also on the crazier side. Mike Tyson is you first of all, to love boxing, you got to be crazy. Because I mean,
Yeah.
who do you like getting punched in the face? Like it's not
Yeah.
fun. So to like boxing, you got to be crazy anyway. But to want to do it at 53 years old,
Right.
so yeah, no, Mike Tyson is definitely, but it makes him feel like himself. It makes him feel alive again. You know, so
Yeah.
I say hats off to him. Keep doing
Right.
it. Do it against. But I like that he's doing it against other older guy. You know, Roy, maybe Evander. I'm hearing Evander might be next. You know, I wouldn't want to see him do it against these young guys because that's when it becomes unsafe.